What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Emphasis on Sports. As usual, I'm your host, Damon Anthony. And when you come here, you come to listen or watch a brother just talk about sports. Outside the lines, don't care. People doing in their personal life, don't care. What I care about is the games. I love the sports. I love the competition, and I love to talk about it, love to listen to it. You know what I mean? So let's get it going. Hey, look, tonight, big game. College football national championship. The State School of Ohio State versus Notre Dame. It's going to be a huge one. So many implications, fan bases, rabid. The place will be rocking. As I said before, my pick on the game is Notre Dame. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. Ohio State is a damn good team. They're going to come out. They're going to show their ass. They may very well beat the hell out of Notre Dame. I tend to think that Notre Dame is going to stay in the game and pull out the victory right down the stretch. That's what I think is going to happen. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing how the college football playoff wrapped up. So far, it's been a kind of rocky ride. First round, a lot of blowouts. Second round, a lot of those bye teams. See you later. Go home. Now we're at the end of it, the apex. This should be a game to remember. One of these fan bases is going to remember it for great reasons. One of them is going to remember it because they were pissed off and probably got a little too drunk after the game. But expecting it to be a hell of a game. I'm going to say probably it's going to be right around that over-under line. But it could go either way. It could go absolutely either way. But I'm expecting a really good game with a Notre Dame victory. And I want y'all to understand, I'm a USC Trojans fan. I've never rooted for Notre Dame to do anything to beat anyone. Go Notre Dame. Go Notre Dame. All right. Not for some of the reasons why y'all think. I hate Ohio State personally. Not a fan. Never have been. Just don't like them. So let's go Notre Dame. Let's see what happens there. But let's talk about what we saw this weekend. We had some really, really huge games. We're going to go through them one by one, and then we're going to talk about what we're going to see this upcoming weekend. So this weekend, we just had the divisional round of the NFL Championship. 4 solid games, 1 semi-upset, but just good football all the way around. If you live anywhere like me, Northeast Ohio, today, the high was 10 degrees. It's been snowing its ass off for a little bit. So this was a perfect time to light the fireplace, to watch the snow while watching the game, to hang out. It was perfect. Perfect football watching weather. There's a lot of people that they disagree with the snow being perfect football playing weather, and I get that. I totally get that. But I like to watch it. I really like to watch it. So let's get into the games. First game of the weekend, Houston winning to Kansas City. Now, prior to this game, my synopsis on it was Houston could win. Houston could be in this game. They just can't make mistakes. And when they get in the red zone, you gotta score touchdowns. You cannot play around. You cannot half-ass it when it comes to a team like Kansas City. You got to whole-ass that thing. And what I was seeing early in that game, Houston wasn't taking advantage of what Kansas City was given. You miss a field goal badly. First of all, it's the first half. We don't need field goals. We need touchdowns. Then, you miss an extra point on a touchdown. You need all those. Any points that you can get them. Because as the game goes, Kansas City is going to continue to play well. However they start, they're going to get better as the game goes on. So if you don't either stay right with them or put foot to ass immediately, you're going to go down. Now, as usual, a lot of talk about the refs, a lot of talk about the refs helping out Kansas City. There was a roughing the quarterback play that absolutely should not have been called. There was the flop on the sideline from Mahomes. These are things that we're all coming to expect from a Kansas City game. We all see it, and people can make excuses about it and say that the refs don't help them. And maybe in their mind, they're just calling it straight up. But as a fan of the game, when I see some of these calls, I kind of got to think, man, what's going on? Is somebody paying these refs? Did Travis get somebody's daughter tickets to go see Taylor? What's going on there? Because some of this stuff, when you have the announcers actually saying, I really disagree with that call, or that looks bad. Come on now. Kind of my take on the calls is what should happen if it's a personal foul, whether it's roughing the quarterback, whether it's a late hit out of bounds, whatever it is, those calls should be immediately reviewed and overturned by New York if it's not a good call. I don't think that should be a challengeable call, but on some of these, listen, a ref is going to see a quarterback get hit and throw a flag. All right, let's have somebody go back and say, hey, did you see what you thought you saw? Or was there something else there? I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Either way, Kansas City won the game 23-14. They moved on to the AFC Championship as they tend to do. They're still on their quest for their third straight Super Bowl. They're that one team that, I didn't pick them to be in the Super Bowl. Damn sure didn't pick them to win the Super Bowl, but it wouldn't surprise me because they're a damn good team. They've already fallen into that New England Patriot zone where you just expect them to be standing there at the end, ready to fight, either going to go to the Super Bowl or to win the Super Bowl. You're not necessarily going to pick them, but you know that you might not should pick against them. That's where I think everyone is with Kansas City. There's a little bit of fatigue from a lot of people because they keep seeing them win and they feel like the refs are helping them. Same thing that happened with the Patriots. But just like with the Patriots, what goes up must come down. This team is they're good. They're going to be good. They got Patrick there for a little while. That doesn't mean that they're going to win every year. That doesn't mean they're going to challenge every year. What that means is some of these other teams step up. Pull your shit together. What I'm seeing out of the team that they're going to face is a team that has stepped up and has pulled their shit together and now is poised to actually beat Kansas City. But we'll get to that a little later. But Kansas City moves on to the AFC Championship round. They will be hosting. It's going to be a hell of a game, one that I'm very much looking forward to. I will be tuned in Sunday, 6 Eastern. Absolutely. Now, game 2 on Saturday. This was a hell of a game. Washington went into Detroit and handled business. So now, if you heard the last pod, you heard what I said. Detroit, in order for them to win this game, you got to come out, you got to put foot to ass immediately. You have to score nothing but touchdowns in the first half. You have to assert your dominance. Because what Washington has shown all year, game in and game out, they play a full 60 minutes. And if you leave them in the game, they're going to figure out how to win it. However, whether they're touched by an angel, whether it's pure dumb luck, you can call it whatever the hell you want. But if you leave them in the game, they're going to win it. In this one, you had Detroit with some big time unwarranted turnovers. Turnovers are just unnecessary. Washington came out and played a great game, but Detroit was turning the ball over. Meanwhile, Detroit couldn't stop Washington. Washington moved the ball however they wanted to. Jaden Daniels, what can you say? What can you say? He's a rookie. What can you say? I don't have notes. The guy's out there balling. He's not afraid of the situation. He's not afraid to go in someone else's house where they're rocking. And believe me when I tell you, out of all home venues this weekend, that was probably the hardest one to play in. And it was the only one that was indoors. This Detroit fan base lathered up, ready, expecting nothing but to see their team go to the Super Bowl, keep moving. And Washington went in there and whooped their ass. They did what they were supposed to do. They didn't hold back. They didn't play any games. There was a questionable non-flag when Jared Goff got kind of laid out on that pick six. Listen, y'all, should there have been a flag? Absolutely. Absolutely. Helmet to helmet, because the guy's helmet, the crown of his helmet hit Jared Goff seemingly right in the chin. Yes, that's a flag. All that would have meant was that Washington would have had the ball on the 20 because the ball was already picked off. It was almost in the end zone. Let's just move him back 15 yards. So anybody that thinks that, if that was called, the score would have been drastically changed, it wouldn't have. Only thing is, Jared Goff just might not have gotten his bell rung. But see you next year, Lions. I hate to say it because I actually, really wanted the Lions to get there and do something. It would have been kind of cool to see, especially living where I live. But they just couldn't get it done. And Washington came to play. Jaden Daniels, I'm not going to be prisoner of the moment and say, he's going to be the best thing ever. No, he's having a dynamite, never been seen before year, never been seen before experience in the playoffs. There's nothing that tells me that he can't lead his team to victory the next game, especially with who they're playing, which we'll touch on here shortly. But I'm loving what I'm seeing out of the Commanders. They ball out. And then one thing you don't see is anyone complaining. Their number one receiver, Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry. He has had games where he's been kind of non-existent. I don't see him bitching on the sideline. I don't see him worrying about it in a win or a loss. That's good coaching. That's good leadership. Washington looks like a team that can get to where they want to right now. That's a dangerous team. I also said the other day, a big plus for them is that they don't know any better. When you have a team that doesn't know any better, that's tough. That means they're not afraid. That means they can go into anybody's house and, all right, man, we come in to whoop ass. They're not worried about who y'all got. So big shout out to Washington. Humongous game. Great experience. I actually watched the game at a friend of mine's house that is a Detroit fan. It was heartbreaking to see because she's such a nice person, just such an all-around nice person. And I never heard the words that came out of her mouth come out of her mouth before as she's rooting for her team. That's what I love about the fandom. You get locked in. You love a team. You've been rooting for this team for 30 years, however long. And finally, they're on the pinnacle, and you cannot contain yourself. And then you catch that L. And when they lost, the response from the Lions fan was, you know what, we had a great year. I hope we have one next year. There wasn't no, let's fire everybody. Let's trade everybody. Nah. Be a fan of your team. So even though Detroit went down, have that little soft spot for them, let's go, Commanders. Let's go, Commanders. It would actually be kind of cool to see the Commanders take everything down, just as a team that definitely wasn't supposed to be here. Also, I want to touch on maybe, and I know this isn't going to happen, maybe Jaden Daniels, maybe he's the damn MVP. Remember what Washington was last year? Trash. Here they are in the NFC Championship. He's definitely the rookie of the year. But when we talk about the MVP, why? Why are you the MVP? Why? I know Lamar is great. I know Josh Allen, stud, fantastic. Why not Jaden Daniels? Why not Saquon Barkley? In Philly's case, this is damn near the same team that they had last year. You add Saquon Barkley, changes everything. Now they're damn tough to beat. Just my thoughts on the MVP thing. Don't hold me to anything. That's just what I was thinking, right? But Washington moves on to NFC Championship. They'll be playing Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Who will they be playing? First game on Sunday, Los Angeles Rams go into Philly in a snow globe game. Game didn't start off very snowy, had a little mist of snow, some little pockets, looked more like light rain, but as the game went on, that stuff was going down. Now, you would think the Rams, LA, Dome, they can't play in snow. Aha! They got Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford spent the bulk of his career in the NFC North. He's played outdoors at Green Bay. He's played outdoors in Chicago year in and year out and had good games. So he was fine. This one came down to some costly turnovers. Kyron Williams had a bad one, a real bad one. Matt Stafford turnover, a real bad one. Philly ended up eking this game out 28-22. But I will say, as I was watching it, the Rams should have won that game. If the Rams could hold on to that ball, they may be in the NFC Championship, but they're not. Philly behind Saquon Barkley, who went bananas. This is why I say maybe Saquon for MVP. We hadn't seen Philly like this. If Philly didn't have Saquon, if they had any other running back other than probably King Henry, they don't win this game. Saquon went for 205 yards. He's an absolute monster, a stud. But one thing we did see, Jalen Hurts, he may not be healthy. Got his bell rung a little bit. Maybe due to weather, there wasn't a lot of passing in this game. This was a big-time run game from the Eagles. The Rams, they kind of did it all, but between drops, between fumbles, you're not going to win like that. You're just not, especially when you're going into somebody else's house. They could have won this game. They were ready. They were primed to win this game. They just didn't get it done. So Philly moves on to the NFC Championship. to host Washington Sunday, 3 Eastern. This one, to me, is going to be a hell of a game. It's a divisional game. Whenever you have divisional games, it always heightens the importance of the game to the teams. This is the third time these teams have played each other. They already split. So now this is the tiebreaker. Trust me when I tell you, these teams and these fan bases, they can care less about each other. I'm not going to say they don't like each other. I'm not going to say they hate each other. They don't care if the other one is happy or mad. I'm going to tell you that right now. This one's going to be real cool. Washington did beat Philly earlier this year. Washington ain't afraid of them at all. They're going to be playing outdoors. That's fine with Washington. Their stadium is outdoors. Let's go. This one, strap it in. I think this one is going to be a game for the ages. I'm going to think on it a little bit, and I'll get back with my pick on it. A lot of things is if Jalen is healthy, that bodes well. One of Washington's offensive linemen tore their ACL, which definitely is a little bit of a game changer, but I still think Washington's going to walk in poised. They're going to walk in ready to play. Dan Quinn is going to have those guys ready to go. Philly's going to be fine. They're going to be ready to play, but we just have to see how hurt is Jalen. If he's not completely tore up, I mean, he's going to have to play and Philly could be all right, but we got to see those wide receivers get some work in this game. You cannot just lean on Saquon. 28 points, I don't think is going to be enough to beat Washington. But like I said, I'm going to digest a lot from this game and talk a lot about this one later in the week. Now, the biggest game of the weekend in the NFL, everybody could not wait to see. Baltimore Ravens walk into Buffalo in, what are they calling it, the MVP Bowl, which I get. It definitely is the MVP. Everyone is looking at the MVP as Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson. So is it the MVP Bowl? I get that. I totally get that. This was a hell of a game. This was a game that Baltimore should have won. Buffalo won 27-25. Buffalo won by controlling the clock, not turning the ball over, and taking care of business when given the opportunity. Buffalo, between a couple of big drops, and one of those drops was Derrick Henry. I would never, and I don't know anyone that considers Derrick Henry a pass-catching back, so I'm not going to absolutely crucify him for that one. But Mark Andrews had a bad drop and a terrible fumble and an even worse drop to close out the game. Lamar had a terrible fumble, terrible pick. These are things that, you know, a lot of people are going to point the finger at Mark Andrews. If some of these things that happen earlier in the game don't happen, they're not dependent on that 2-point play. That being said, that was a very catchable ball that he should have caught. He'll be kicking himself in the ass for probably the rest of his life off of dropping that one. So I'm not going to sit here and crush the guy because of it. Because trust me, he's crushing himself more than any of us ever could. But that was a tough one to watch, a tough pill to swallow. Buffalo, they squeaked by. They got the job done. I'm not going to say that Josh Allen outplayed anyone because he didn't. Lamar Jackson, top to bottom, kind of had a better game, but the Bills got it done. You know, the running game, fantastic. Ray Davis came in, broke a nice old touchdown. James Cook, he was doing his thing back there. Buffalo looks like a team that's charged up and ready to take that next step. Baltimore did too. They just couldn't control the ball. I'm talking to people last week. Said if Baltimore turns the ball over, they're not going to win this game. Well, what happened? They turned the ball over. They still got it down to the very end of the game when they actually had a shot. And it came down to just a drop pass. Big shout out to Baltimore. You'll be fine. You'll be back next year. Lamar, we know who you are. Derrick Henry, we know who you are. Let's get your wide receiver room a little better and get a little more help on defense. You'll be just fine. Buffalo. This sets up the game that I think everybody wanted to see when the season started. You got Buffalo and Kansas City next week, 6 p.m. Eastern Sunday. This one is a tale for the ages. This, to me, and what I'm looking at, is reminding me of Manning versus Brady, because these are teams that continue to play in the playoffs. Buffalo just can't get around them. When the Patriots were running off their first couple Super Bowls, it hurt Manning to the soul. because he just couldn't get by him, couldn't get around him. But at some point, he broke through. Peyton Manning broke through, got the Colts a championship. I personally think this is the year that the Bills break through because it's been a kind of a different game for the Bills, different game for Josh Allen, all in the most positive ways. But Kansas City is still Kansas City. I haven't looked at the line or over under on this one. I think this is just going to be one of those hell of a games. But right now, there's a storybook being written, and at some point, I need to read the book or watch the 30 for 30 when it's done. Because if the Bills can't win this one, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a lot of heartache. I personally think that this is the Bulls beating the bad boy Pistons to go on and actually win their first championship. I like the Bills to beat Kansas City, but Kansas City, you have to beat them. I don't think Kansas City beats the Bills scoring 23 points. But I don't think Buffalo beats Kansas City scoring 27. We're going to see what happens here. We're definitely going to see what happens. These games this weekend going to be fantastic. First game, Washington at Philly. Second game, Buffalo at Kansas City. Cannot wait. As a sports fan, as an NFL fan, if it's not my team in it, these are games that I want to see. These are games that I'm going to tune into. Just be ready. I'll have my brew. I'll have me some wings or something. Matter of fact, I'm going to have me some buffalo wings because this is what I want to see. This is what a lot of sports fans whose teams aren't in it wants to see. It's going to be absolutely huge. Other things around the NFL. We know the coaching carousel is fired up. There's going to be some coaches, everyone's interviewing, it seems like. As of a little while before I actually sat down to do this, it looks like Ben Johnson is on his way to being the coach of the Chicago Bears, which could be really big for Caleb Williams. But then it may not be. We don't know. I think sometimes we look at some of these offensive and defensive coordinators and it's like, oh, they're going to be the next big head coach. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Do I think Ben Johnson is going to be a great coach? Sure. Let's just see how this works out with the Bears. And he's going to his team's rival, which always makes it a little cool. Always makes it cool. There's a lot of other interviews going on. There's this piece with Dallas, Coach Prime, maybe Kellen Moore, maybe an old dude. We don't know. We're gonna see. We're gonna see what happens. Dallas, they're definitely gonna still need a good coach, and they're gonna need somebody that's gonna come in there and tell Jerry, "Hey, Jerry, I got you. Thanks for cutting the check. I need you to go sit over there. Let me handle this." These are the times when I think a lot of these coaches need to kind of draw that line in the sand when they get hired or actually listen and understand what their actual role is. For instance, with the Cowboys, you go to the Cowboys, you understand you're cooking the groceries that someone else bought, and you don't really have a chance to say, I like these groceries or not. Just learn how to cook it. Versus you have teams like San Francisco where I really think John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan communicate on a lot of things. So they're always on the same page. We're about to see what happens with some of these teams. Who are the Jets going to hire? Who are the Jaguars going to hire? Who's San Francisco going to bring in as their DC? Who are the Raiders going to hire? Really want to see how a lot of this stuff unfolds over these next couple of weeks because I believe in about maybe the week after the Super Bowl, week after that, I think all positions will be filled, and then we'll just get ready to go into next year. But I really want to see where some guys land because it's also going to set up the draft. And that is something that I'm looking forward to also. When does Travis Henry get off the board? What about Cam Ward? What about Shador? What about some of these other guys? When are they going to leave? How's that going to shuffle up? I know the Niners, we're not picking any of them. But with some of these other teams, who's Tennessee going to take at 1? Where is Shador going to land? Who's the Browns going to take at 2? I don't know. Me personally, I want to see what happens. Definitely with Travis Henry. There's been a lot of, he's a generational talent. I hope people pump their brakes a little bit on that. He's a damn good player. Did I think he was a Heisman guy? I still disagree, only because he was very good as a receiver, very good as a cornerback, but he wasn't the best in either one. When Charles Woodson won, Charles Woodson was the best DB in the game. And anytime he touched the ball on offense or special teams, it was electric. Absolutely electric. Travis Henry wasn't that. He's good. He's good all the way around, but he was no Woodson. I know I'm going to get tore up in comments about that, but it's also true. But let's just get ready for a good weekend of football. Let's get ready for this college football national championship tonight. NBA continues to rock on. I will get a little more tapped in with the NBA, especially as the NFL and the college season really wraps up. Now it's time to catch the NBA. Now it's time to see what guys are doing, especially as that deadline gets closer, because I want to see where that major movement is, because I know there's going to be some. That being said, y'all, until next time, man, be good or be good at it, and I will holler.